Welcome to the Sharpest College Football Podcast. This is our Week 4 review. I am BuckMetrics, joined as always by Robert Martin. I'm without headphones today, so hopefully this goes well for everybody. Robert, your headphones are intact. I'd walk on over and borrow a pair from you, but you're a few thousand miles away from me.
Yeah, and then double that in terms of kilometers. So yeah, it's pretty far, yeah.
So, good Week 4. A lot of good games. Didn't really have the massive upset that we've seen another week so far, but man, just wall-to-wall good games all day and night, huh?
Yeah, a lot of good games. There was some, I'd say, smaller upset. They're not really small upsets. You're still looking at double-digit underdogs in a couple of them, but nothing like super crazy, but definitely some very noteworthy games and some stuff we're going to get into.
Yeah. All right. If you are new, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. This is our glossary. Go ahead and do a screen grab of this and save it where you do all your college football work. Refer to it through this and another podcast throughout the season. And if you are returning, we also appreciate that. And you are, of course, by definition, brilliant. And with that, we will get to my Week 4 takeaways, which I like to pose in the form of a question. My first one, good morning game here. Didn't quite go exactly as expected, but man, this really got my attention. Texas Tech just put it to Utah at Utah. I don't know if I'm going to say the Devin Dampier experiment is over yet, but it didn't look good. Texas Tech could just have a really good defense. I think this was one of those winds of change games where this wasn't just one team beating another. This was Texas Tech winning on the road in that dreaded first conference game, which I always make a big deal about. And they beat Utah at their own game. They beat them like how Utah usually beats teams. This was a very different Texas Tech team in a prove-it moment. I'm going to grab my laser pointer here. As you can see in the box score here, Texas Tech just won the line of scrimmage here. More rushing yards per attempt. Backup Will Hammond came in and was awesome. Something that Utah has struggled with from time to time when they don't have Cam Rising, unless they're playing USC, then everybody turns into an All-American on offense. One thing about the Will Hammond thing, too. Look, Jenny Taft is probably a delightful lady. She might sponsor 25 dog rescues across the nation, which maybe would make her near and dear to my heart. But the way they just jam her in and just have her talk over plays with stupid nonsense crap, this time they had to just break away from her or to her when Hammond came in so she could tell all of us that, hey, we talked to the coaches during the week and they said that they trusted Will Hammond if he has to play. Robert, have you ever seen a sideline reporter just break in to say, look, the coaches don't trust this guy at all?
Could you imagine? It'd be like, man, you know what? This is really bad now. The coach just said, man, I hate if this kid has to come in and play. We're so screwed. Just give up. We may as well just give up right then. Could you imagine?
I know.
It's always been like, they will always say something like, oh, next man up or something like that. No, man, we're screwed. It's over. Just pack it in. Just may as well start packing up the sideline. The thing is, though, it's actually interesting, though, that Will Hammond, actually somewhat looked better than Bren Morton.
Yeah.
Now, a couple things, though. Midway through the game, I thought he had a concussion because he went down hard on his head in the one play, and I think maybe earlier than that, he had a bit of issues, too. He had 2 interceptions. Devin Dampier, it's actually now come out just a couple hours ago that apparently he didn't practice for 2 days last week. Yeah, so apparently he had an injury that no one knew about, and you look at the stats, you can see that. But no, aside from all of that, I had some money on Utah in this game. I think I had bet a 3.5 a while ago. I have some Utah futures, so I guess someone invested in Utah in this game. And about midway through this game, probably somewhere through the second quarter, I'm just like, Utah wasn't the right team here. It's very clear that Texas Tech was the right team and that Texas Tech was going to win the game. And I probably should have just immediately unloaded on Texas Tech. I just didn't. And that's the thing. No, I think Texas Tech is a good team, and we talked a little bit about this last week. We said that my model had this as about tied, so it would have technically been a Texas Tech play on that. We thought that UCLA wasn't as good as people thought it was, and that maybe Utah's blowout of UCLA doesn't mean as much now. And yeah, maybe, right? I think Texas Tech is good, but I still think TCU exists. So TCU exists, Arizona State exists, Kansas exists. So this is not the end. This is not the end of the Big 12 ending here. There's still going to be a lot more to play for in terms of that conference. But again, it's like these single elimination tournaments where it's okay, maybe Utah's not that good. Okay, next one, next up, right? Now, what about TCU? What about Kansas? What about Arizona State? So a lot still left to play for in this Big 12. But no, I think we could definitely say Texas Tech is going to be up there. I think.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I was hoping for when I saw like what the Big 12 is going to look like post Texas and Oklahoma. It's super competitive. We go way deep to when you look at the pool of teams that realistically can make the conference title game, we go way deep. And now when if there's word association, if you say Big 12, in my brain says tiebreaker because we're going to be deep in the tiebreaker protocol, I think, in middle and late November on this conference, huh?
Yeah, and it's insane. That's how this goes now, where we're like, oh, okay, what's like the fourth tiebreaker? It's like points scored away or some insane thing, or
Exactly.
it's like that's not how this is supposed to be decided. Like I don't know. It's because it's like literally, it's like the winner of that game goes to the playoffs, and then the loser just doesn't. And then sometimes what happens to the third place team? They just get nothing because they
Yeah.
lost out on a tiebreaker for some reason.
We could see something. I don't know if this is a tiebreaker, but it could be something like point differential in the common
Yeah,
games about the four teams in tied for second place. Like the Big 12, though, it's very compelling. All right, Nebraska was just not ready. Disappointing. They had that lucky end of first half. I don't know if you saw that Hail
the Hail
Mary.
Mary. Yeah.
It was a brilliant play by the receiver just to contort his body and get in. Michigan, not really a threat to throw the ball. All you had to do, look, it's easier said than done. Michigan does not try to trick you. You have to be strong and disciplined, I think, on defense as much as anything. And I would think at this point that's where a Matt Rule team would excel first. And Michigan, they didn't trick them. They just ran down their throats. And it was really surprising that Nebraska didn't have the strength or discipline to really be much of a factor in this. The final score was not indicative of the margin throughout. They just weren't ready. And so I've got their conference here. I see two opportunities here, maybe three since it's a big game. USC, Penn State, and Iowa is a big rivalry. Three opportunities where they need to basically show that they are ready to take that next step. And depending on how Iowa goes, I don't know if that really counts. It's a rivalry game, but it's not quite the same. I thought Nebraska would be ready, and they just don't seem to me like a team who's going to be ready to take that step this season. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think the final score, is maybe a bit closer than the game felt. I think Nebraska is a good team, but maybe Michigan is just like maybe Michigan is a top whatever team, right? I think Michigan probably should be a bit higher than they were. Nebraska probably deserves to be ranked, but at the same point in time, Oklahoma like just mauled Michigan, and Auburn almost shut down Oklahoma. So we're getting to this point where it's how good is Michigan, but at least it's as good as Nebraska. We're going to need a while to figure out Nebraska. You're probably not going to get any definitive answers on them until USC. But other than that, though, I had expected more, and I think maybe for this program, this is where it should be right now. But I had hoped for more, though. I had hoped for more. Maybe we still can get more. I still think it's a good team. I just think maybe it's just not. Maybe it's just not over that hump.
Yeah, and I could see Michigan State is okay. Boy, they struggle on defense, though. I know I've seen them a couple times. Two teams coming off a loss, and if you want to be serious about having something to really play for this year, that'll be interesting. But I could actually see them. It's not an impossible path to get to that game hosting USC in November with just one loss still. So they're not out of it, but yeah, it's just they'll have a chance. They'll two chances for a quality win if they can just not screw around on the rest of the stuff. I think they're still in it. To your point about how good is Michigan, stay tuned to the Week 5 preview because somebody's model is ready. Not to spoil everything, and that model is pretty fun to Michigan. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
All right, a hot
Speaking,
take here: is Auburn's defense as good as Oklahoma's?
yeah,
Um,
this was very weird. They couldn't put them away. They just couldn't put them away.
and yeah, and you've got basically at the same. Actually, Auburn's defense did a little better on a yards per play basis on the road against nominally, I guess I'd say, the Heisman favorite now and his offense. Oklahoma's defense looks good to me. I think Auburn just met every punch. Auburn, boy, I'll just say it nicely. Auburn's defense was the victim of a couple of unfortunate circumstances between the touchdown that shouldn't have been and the pass interference that was not called because the referee was trying to get out of the way and couldn't see the play. Bad spot for Auburn, but defensively, at least they met every punch that they received.
Yeah, this was a very defensive heavy game, just like limiting drives, limiting explosive plays. I came away very impressed with both defenses. I still think Oklahoma has the better offense,
Yeah.
but maybe Auburn has a better defense of the two of them. So it was a very even game. Oklahoma won and covered, but I felt like they shouldn't have. There's a lot of ways that could have gone the other way.
Yeah. Let me pull up. I'm curious who or Oklahoma's first. They've got to be on the road here. They've had a lot of road games, and they just had a conference home game here. Do we know who their first road game is here in conference? Do they play this week? They might be
No, they might
off.
be off. They play next week and then they play Texas in 2 weeks. Or no, 3 weeks.
In
That's like
3 weeks.
October. Yeah.
Yeah, then they host Kent State. Yeah, that Red River. Boy, they're not going to have a true road game for a while here. For as tough as their schedule is, they really got to ease slowly into the deep water here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Have to stand upright and get the gear in the shot here for my Kent State Owls.
Yeah.
You might recall during the Sun Belt preview, as much as 14 months ago, I was anxious. I was ringing the bell about this team stinks. And I was very subdued because I said they might have got the right guy here. Mr. Jerry Mack with his, you can see right here, this is the legitimate, you've got 3 conference titles here, folks, at North Carolina Central. I said they might have gotten the right guy. I kind of like this hire more than a lot in the G5. And our Owls are 2-2. And they totally outpassed Arkansas State and the formerly great Jalen Rayner. Ran for almost 200 yards. I'm going to say Kennesaw State hired the right guy. Who did not hire the right guy? That would be Arkansas State, who still is learning that they didn't hire the right guy.
Yeah. No, Kennesaw State, very legit. I'm very impressed with them so far. 2-2. They were an underdog in this game. We did pick them and they won. They scored 21 unanswered in the first quarter. Now they slowly let Arkansas State back in, but they scored enough to keep it out of reach. But no, shout out to them. This isn't even the first they won this game, and then they won another game. Who they beat? Who they won last week too, right? They're now 2-0 in the last 2 weeks. Who they beat last week?
Yeah, shoot. 2-0 at home. Yeah, let me pick that up real quick.
Because the other team, remember they had that very close game against Wake Forest too, and they only lost by 2 or something.
They lost by 1. Yeah, it was 10-9.
Yeah, 10-9.
I want to say Jacksonville State, or do they play Jacksonville State this week?
Or was it? No, wasn't it Liberty? No,
No.
they could be Liberty.
They play Middle this week. They'll do well there.
Yeah.
They beat this is it. They beat your team, Merrimack. Here's the other thing. I didn't have space for this too. They give Indiana a better game than Illinois did.
Yes, that's right.
Better margin of victory. Give up fewer points.
As did ODU too.
Yeah, and I think one of the things when we do our previews in the G5, it's rough because the rosters, especially in the Sun Belt and Conference USA and the MAC, really get picked over. And a lot of it's hard to project. I think a lot of it's just start first with the coach, right? This was not a good roster. Like we said, this roster was not ready for FBS last year. Now they basically beat probably a 4th place Sunbelt West team, and and I didn't do expected win here, but this shouldn't have been that close. If I'm just looking at a yards per play basis, not even close. So one of the things to keep in mind, we're doing the G5s next year, is just let's look at the coach first and the coach second before we do anything else.
Yeah.
All right, your takeaway.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell us is a great coach?
No, we're not there yet today, but this is as bad as it seems. I just want to, obviously, we said this seems wrong. There's no way Bill Belichick should be 6.5-point underdogs to Scott Frost. We're going to go with Bill Belichick. It wasn't even close. Not even close. 34-9, not close. I want to point something out. And in this podcast, we are no friend of Scott Frost, and we have not complimented Scott Frost much. But what I will say is this, is that if you remember in UCF's first game, they originally started, what's his name? The one from Marshall. The transfer from Marshall. Former.
Apparently, the best practice quarterback ever, who he fooled two decent coaches into thinking that he should be a starter. That'd be Cam Fancher.
Cam Fancher. They originally started Cam Fancher, and then they benched him and put in Tavian Jackson, and then Tavian Jackson led them to a win against apparently a somewhat decent Jacksonville State. In this game, Cam Fancher did not throw a pass. Only Tavian Jackson did, and they dominated. If you remember North Carolina's first game, Gio Lopez played for a bit, didn't complete a pass for like an hour and a half,
Yes.
got injured, and then they put Max Johnson in. He actually did something, but yet somehow both Lopez and Max Johnson threw passes in this game. And I don't understand why Bill Belichick can't decide who his starting quarterback is. Right? That's the thing. You should be able to decide.
In fairness, if these are your choices, you can really be decisive.
Scott Frost made a call though, right? That's the thing, right?
Well,
Scott Frost said,
actually, Fancher got injured. He was forced to.
"Oh,
Now,
okay."
at least he's smart enough to, once it was shoved in his face, oh, okay, yeah, this sounds good. Taven Jackson.
But like,
I,
why have you not? Max Johnson had a touchdown pass. Gio Lopez had 2 interceptions.
yeah.
Like,
Max Johnson also threw for Chris 3.5 per pass, which at that point is run.
yeah,
Well, unless you're this team, which can't run either, maybe just punt on second down.
like I basically, but they can't play defense either. Their defense is horrible. What I don't know where the line is on this team. Like, where is the floor? I don't know. And okay, TCU was a good team. UCF not a good team, but they didn't get close to covering the spread. What happens when they play Florida State? What happens when they
Yeah.
play? I'm actually I'm not gonna talk. We're talking about Clemson later, but when they play an actually good team, not Clemson, right? Miami. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly who they play, but what happens when they play actually good teams? Like, they might hang 70 on them. That's how bad this is.
I remember that they had what seemed to be an easy schedule at the time. Now, depending on how the conference shakes out here, so they host Clemson, they're at Cal. Hosting Virginia is a little tricky. At Syracuse, they'll probably lose that. Still, this doesn't seem crazy. Hosting Stanford, at Wake, Jesus, this is horrible. At Wake Forest, hosting Duke, at NC State. Look, I don't think I'd have them favored in any of those games except for probably Stanford. But I wouldn't be shocked if they won any of them
When do they host Clemson?
in 2 weeks, a week and a half.
What even is the spread?
That's, you know what we call that, Robert? That would be the double plus money game. I just, right? I
Yeah,
would need points to take either side.
yeah. We're talking more about Clemson, obviously, but just wow, I don't even know. That's just gonna be a barn burner. But like the barn burner when the barn just like burns down. That's that one.
Yeah. And what's funny, too, is Stuart Mandel, he let his column off. He said, hey, everybody remember when everybody was looking really excited to Clemson versus North Carolina? I was like, no, not me. Not my co-host. We didn't think that was going to be a big game. We didn't see that being like a game day thing or anything, but I
No,
don't know. Yeah, not to spoil anything. We both have something on that a little later here. Yeah, but what is the bottom? I'll tell you what. Here's the thing. They've got a great schedule to prove just how bad the bottom can be because there's a lot of mediocre coming up here. And they
is
can
it
prove to be like below the lower middle class of this conference.
like is Stanford gonna do what they did to Boston College to them on the road?
Yeah, I don't. Again, nothing would surprise me. I guess the only thing that would surprise me if they won more than two of those games, I'd be surprised. But I wouldn't be surprised by them winning any of them. I would expect them to be a dog in every one of those games, though, except for maybe.
Just like a Bengal Branson, like Caleb Williams game, like 3 passing touchdowns, 300 yards. Like
Yeah, that
it's
man, that might be worth watching it alone. Just can they turn him into a real quarterback?
yeah, that'd be nuts.
Yeah, you don't need a former NFL coach to turn into a real quarterback. You just need to go against Bill Belichick. That'll
Yeah.
make you a real quarterback here.
And this is Steve Belichick's defense too, right? Because he's on the
Yeah,
team, right? Yeah, this is the one guy who had Washington's defense last year. So I
Washington was a
don't.
good defense too.
Yeah. Did you just forget how to play defense? Did everybody in the entire North Carolina team forget how to play defense? Like, I'm so confused as to what happened here.
Another hot take: Jed Fish, much better personnel guy than Bill Belichick, a guy he coached under.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But again, to be fair though, like we did say this, and I said this explicitly. I said that Bill Belichick is a great coach, but a horrible talent evaluator, and
yep,
talent evaluation is literally all college football is. And I said that he's trying to play Moneyball when the object of this game is just throw as much money at as much good players as you can because you have money, so spend it. Like this
yeah,
isn't the Oakland A's. Spend money on good players. Period. That's the game. You're not trying to find hidden value in Gio Lopez or Max Johnson. Get a good quarterback. Get a good defensive players. Get good offensive players. Coach them. That's it. That's what this game is. This isn't, oh, maybe this 2-star O lineman from some random high school is overlooked. No. Get a good player.
yes, yeah. All right, you have an update on what I'm just going to call the Robert slide here.
No update here, but again, just still pointing out here that basically I didn't update it because neither Dabo nor Mike Gundy were fired. But Dabo underperformed the spread by a nice cool 37 points. Or no, what's 17 plus? No, 27 points. Sorry, 27 points. Only
Okay,
a 27-point underperformance. Only 27. Some respect on Dabo. But and then Mike Gundy underperformed it by a cool 19 points. So we're trying to figure out here, and this is because like technically when you look at the dark red, I reserve the dark red for 20 plus point underperformances. So technically Mike Gundy came in just under that. So technically he was 19. But to be fair, Tulsa also last year fired a coach by overperforming his spread by 19 points. Or no, Tulsa's coach got fired for underperforming his spread by 19 points last year. So it's they're very clearly on the hot seat. We're going to talk a bit about them, but keep in mind, and I will also say that a coach narrowly avoided being on this list this week as well in terms of Billy Napier, which we're going to talk about very soon as well. But keep that in mind, right? The line we're looking at is about a 20 some odd point underperformance from the spread. And if you start getting to that line, that's when you start thinking, okay, maybe they're going to fire them, maybe they're going to fire them. So if you want to see someone fired, keep that spread in mind.
yeah, I don't know what his buyout is. I think Dabo's just like too much of a guy that
Actually,
I don't think they would fire him.
apparently I was watching Joel Klatt today, and apparently he said that Dabo has a $60 million buyout, but
Yeah,
it's not. I don't remember what the word is. It's the one where if you get another job, then what your salary from that job gets subtracted from
yeah,
60 million.
the offset. Yeah,
Offsetting, yeah. They owe him $60 million. And Clemson has money, but I don't think they have that much money. Again, and as we've talked about this, competitiveness of college football is slowly becoming a GDP map here. South
yep,
Carolina, not the strongest in GDP, right? Florida, yeah. Texas, yeah. Ohio, yeah, there's factories there. Michigan, yeah. California, yeah. But South Carolina, ooh. Alabama, ooh. This is the thing. Like the state of Alabama, that includes Alabama and Auburn, by the way, not just. But that's the thing. It's that if you're looking at GDP, it's like, hey, if you're a high GDP state, you can fire your coach. If you're not, I don't know.
yeah. I got to think about that. I was thinking along the lines of private public also, but then you've got the A&M exception. So I think it's just basically,
It can be both. It can be both.
yeah, maybe there's in Texas obviously is a big economy too, but there's probably like what kind of industries. There's just the oil money there. What I don't know. Not to sidetrack this. What kind of money is at Texas Tech? Is
Probably
that oil money
Spartan.
too in West Texas?
Yeah, there's money. There's oil wells in West Texas. We should check this out. I can make a map. I'm gonna make a map of every county that has a FBS college in it, and then the GDP of those counties. Then we'll figure it out.
That would be fascinating. Yeah, that would be really interesting.
All right, that's next week. Let's do this.
All right, cool. All right. This is a segment where we become college football Karens and we say, I want to talk to. So I want to talk to Arch Manning. Did you see this? This was where
Yeah,
he ran for a touchdown. He's flexing over a player. First, let's go back. I did not see this live because this was on ESPN Plus. Here's a hint. If you play for Texas and your game is on ESPN Plus, you don't flex over the opponent, okay? Number two, it's Sam Houston State, okay? Winless Sam Houston State, okay? I know you're a little frustrated here, but this is such a bad look. I want to point out too that Mr. Manning against UTEP with his great apex of 9 here was outdone just this week by my guy Adam Armenta with a 174 apex against those same UTEP miners. Would also point out that he was Malachi Nelson had a nice 404 yards in that same game. So at this point, I don't even know if Arch is a threat to make a first team All Conference USA as quarterback here. Good thing I saw message board geniuses on Twitter as well. Somebody called Arch Manning the Jimbo Fisher of NIL, which I think is chef's kiss, beautiful, just a perfect encapsulation. You got to be better than this. You got to be better than this. You don't flex over these guys. That's for conference foes only, right?
Yeah, you did it to Oklahoma. Sure, go ahead. It's Sam
Yep.
Houston State. Now, technically, it is an in-state rival, I think, because yeah, Sam Houston is, I guess, based in Houston. I guess I'm not. I know a lot of American history, just not that much, not specifically with Houston, but that's fine. But no, have you when this is the first time they've ever played as an FBS team. Texas, I'm fairly sure.
I
So
believe
this
so.
is
That sounds right.
this is not a particularly storied rivalry. This isn't, oh man, every year we get up, we got to beat Sam Houston. That's not really
Yeah.
um. But this is the thing, right? It's okay. You beat up a winless Sam Houston State team. Great. Okay, do you feel better? You got Oklahoma coming up in a couple weeks. You got Florida, I think, either this week or next week, right?
Yeah, they're off this week.
They're
So
yeah. Next week's Florida. Week after that, Oklahoma. Yeah. Good luck. Good luck. Right. This is the thing. It's cool. You beat up Sam Houston State. We still don't know if he's injured or not. That's still unclear. So that's always great. Like that's right. That's the thing. Is he injured? I don't know. Maybe not. It's unclear. And that's what you want. You want unclear the status of your starting quarterback, whether he's injured or not.
yeah. That reminds me, I want to look up one other thing here real quick. Going back to week 0, because we saw this same opponent against another team in week 0 here. I just want to see. Okay. So week 0, brand new, I will say brand new offensive coordinator and quarterback here. Western Kentucky scored 41 against Sam Houston. So congratulations on your 55. Not that I would ask a lot more, but that's kind of like just what you're supposed to do in this game, considering that Western Kentucky got just two in a conference game, just got 2 touchdowns less. Again, first game for the offensive coordinator and that quarterback. So congratulations, Arch Manning. You're that much better than Western Kentucky. Maybe I take it back. Maybe you are favorites to win Conference USA.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right. I'm just going to be nice and not say anything about an aspect of this picture and just let you go.
Yeah. What happened? Arkansas was up 28-10 right before the half. Memphis scored to make it 28-17. You can see that kind of there at the half. That there it ticks up there at almost 100%, and it ticks down a bit. That's the 28-17, and they keep chugging along. And then why did you're Arkansas? Like this is a team that was competitive with Ole Miss just last week, and why did you let Memphis stick around in this game? Like this isn't. People are gonna be like, oh, they fumbled on the goal. No, it shouldn't have been close. You should have been leading by 3 scores. What is happening here? Why is this defense so bad? This is a huge problem. I don't understand. Yes, I was on Arkansas. Fine, whatever. But the point is that still, though, this is like really bad here. Like, I don't understand. You should have been able to win this game by multiple scores. This should not have been close. This shouldn't have been we fumbled to the goal line and we lost. You should have won this game by multiple scores. It should have been over at the half. The fact that it wasn't, like, there is some talent. This team is competitive with them. This team almost won this game. What are they going to do against Notre Dame this week? I don't know. We're going to have to see that. But there is talent on this team. So this team is not talentless. I just don't understand why they can't just put it together for 4 quarters. Like they were great in the first half, and they just completely fell apart in the back half. I want guys to figure what the hell's going on. Like, what's going on, guys? What are you doing here?
Yeah, it's funny. I heard a few people talk about this, and probably Duck did, since this is a classic Duck angle. When we did the American preview, I think he actually mentioned this one just because Arkansas has Notre Dame coming this week, and it's a classic look ahead. And it might have been as simple as that. Did you see like it wasn't the last play, but where they put it away on the final third down conversion for Memphis? The backup quarterback came in and he drug a guy that literally weighs 140 pounds more for a first down. I don't think I don't think Arkansas played anything near its best, and that is on the coach. Pittman seems like I don't know. I like offensive line coaches like him and Brent Key. He seems like a good dude. His players love him, but he might just be another one of those guys that's not quite up to being a head coach.
Yeah.
I know he makes a lot of money, so I'm just going to say this very circumspectly. I'm just guessing there's not some quality cosmetic surgeons in Fayetteville. I'll just say that.
Yes.
We'll keep it at that. Okay. Victory laps. This is easy for me, and I don't want to spoil what you have coming up here in a little bit. In our Big Ten preview, I pointed out that Illinois was severely overrated. I'll keep it at that. The season win total was 7.5, and it was really juiced to the over, but I said that was over. I said slightly overvalued. The number struck me as fair, but the juice was a bit high. And if if you're going to win 7 or 8, even in a conference as good as the Big Ten, you should not be preseason top 10. It's just that simple. The very next team that we talked about, the Indiana Hoosiers. I did mention, hey, guess what? This new quarterback they have coming in, he is way better than Curtis Rourke. Way better. And this team was like, they were legitimately good. They didn't look like it in the playoff. The season win total was 8.5 for them, and I said they are notably undervalued. I said they're going to be much better than that. You and I both said they were going to be much better this year than last year, and I think Isaiah said that too. I do want to point out also, this is why when they keep doing this, I have to mock them. The Athletic has great reporting, and they're almost sometimes timely. Here's a good article from just yesterday, Robert. Hey, this India team is different because now they have a quarterback. Gee, Robert, who mentioned this about 6 weeks ago? Was he maybe on this podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. And this is the thing, right? Again, I was watching Joel Klatt today. There's not a lot of college football kind of talk show ones. If I want to see people have like bad takes about Lamar Jackson, I know where to find that. But I don't have that for college football much. So it's Joe Clark's not actually that bad. But like today, oh man, like guys, like he's like Indiana might be better than last year. I'm like, might be, and you're deciding this now. I mean, come on. Like again, it's like, oh man, like Fernando Mendoza's good. He's like, yes, he was good last year, and you put him on a team that was already good, and people are like, he also said Curtis Rourke was good last year, but Mendoza might be better. I'm like, first of all, Curtis Rourke, I would not use good. I would use okay to describe Curtis Rourke. He was okay, and I think people forget the fact that how much they did with okay. I think
Yeah.
that's a crazy thing. Like he basically picked up like a bargain bin quarterback from the MAC, rode it to the playoffs, and it's cool. Now I have an actually good quarterback, and people are like, yeah, regression to the mean. They'll get 6 wins. Like what? That's not how this goes. I think with some coaches, there was this pattern of, they come into a place and then they start rebuilding and they start gaining wins, and then they have a regression year and stuff. I think some people pencil it like, they did so well in one year, they have to regress immediately next year. No, what if he's still building? What if the final form is like 11-1 Indiana that only loses to Oregon and knocks off Penn State? What if that's the final form of Indiana this year? And what if next year, they're like co-favorites for the Big 12, like Big 10, right? We don't know.
Yeah.
Cignetti might be that good. I don't understand why. Because I think it's very clear there's going to be some big head coaching vacancies. Like, why is Cignetti not mentioned for literally every single vacancy? Like, literally everybody should be like, Cignetti. Like, when Billy Napier's eventually fired, we're getting to that. Cignetti should be 100% the number one. If Dabo gets fired, Cignetti. If Brian Kelly gets fired, Cignetti. I know it's weird to say that about an undefeated coach, but that day is coming soon, too. This is the thing, right? It's like when those happen, Cignetti should be like 1A on those search for interviews, like straight up. And the fact that no one's even talking about that now is insane. So,
Look, he's not in the athletic department, but Hambone is an LSU guy, and he has Cignetti number 1 on the list. So now again, he's not making that decision, but I think that they get that. But no, you do make a good point that he's not mentioned enough. Yeah, I don't know.
like
I don't know if you noticed this. These people just miss the mark when it comes to coaches.
We're just like, they knock off Penn State, they'd be like, man, this Cignetti guy's pretty good.
Yeah. Really? Okay. Thanks for that. All right. My other victory lap here. Look, I don't need to go into it because I've said his name like 75 times on the podcast. It's Corey Heatherman. Okay.
Yeah.
They just shut down a struggling Florida team, and now I guess Lagway's in a boot. -9 impact. You still have to remark on that. That's exceptional against an SEC team. I do also want to point out that Corey Heatherman, like 7% looks like Will Ferrell playing a defensive coordinator in a comedy. Doesn't he have kind of that look too?
He actually does. Yeah, now that you mentioned it, he does look like just wildly out of place. But yeah, that seems
Yeah,
pretty funny.
like he's something really dumb. Just
But amazing defensive coordinator, right? Like completely,
yep,
like they actually play defense at Miami now. They didn't last year.
they
What?
do. Oh,
Yeah, uh,
0 of 13 on third downs for Florida. You don't
yeah.
see that every day.
This was nuts. So I want to talk about this game because I watched this game. My original plan was actually to watch the Indiana Illinois game, but that game ended really early, so I decided to just go fully watch this game. The thing is, and again, it's weird. I said something nice about Scott Frost earlier. I'm going to say something nice about Mario Cristobal. This game, Mario Cristobal did something really smart because this game very easily could have been 40-0, but he said, no, I'm not going to get Billy Napier fired this week. We're not going to score 40. I'm going to leave him in his job so that I look better in my job. So eventually, people in my head, they'll be like, they'll go after. That was really smart by Mario Cristobal. Because actually, this should, if you were watching this game, I'm not sure what you were watching on Saturday night, this game should have been like 40-0, like just straight up. And they kept messing around. They kept kicking field goals. They kept dragging out drives. Like this could have easily been 40-0. 0 for 13 on third downs. They had one first down in the first half that came off of a 4th-and-1 desperation. Of those 7 first downs, 2 came, basically 3 of them were out. There was the one drive, which was the touchdown drive. That one had 4 first downs. They had 3 first downs outside of that. That is how bad this was. 61 passing yards, 80 rushing yards. Again, this should have been. I alt spread this. I'm actually mad about an alt line. Like, I'm mad about a negative 21.5 alt line not cashing because it should have cashed. That's how, like, and like, honestly, if you watch that game, you'd be like, how did that not cash? That was brilliant. Like, honestly, it was like, it should have cashed. They absolutely dominated them. I have never seen another team dominate another team. But again, they let up. They're like, yeah, kick a field goal. We'll kick a field goal. You can actually see it through there because they're like 7, 6, 13. They just decided to kick random field goals. They're like, no, we're not going to get Billy Napier fired this year. Because if it had been 40-0, they would have gotten Billy Napier fired. But Mario Cristobal, he was smart. He didn't want that. So he's going to keep him around for a couple more weeks.
Well, and Carson Beck, you can see the numbers here. He wasn't awesome. I will say, I think Florida's defense is serious. And going back to my I want to talk to, I already want to talk to Arch Manning after Florida. I think Florida can make him look pretty freaking bad. And that's at the Swamp too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That might have like Big Ten West vibes of just like your classic Iowa, Minnesota 3-6 at halftime. Which would in the first half took 70 minutes because it's all running plays. And they're backed up on timeouts because they just couldn't stop the clock enough.
Yeah, what's going to happen in that game? That's kind of crazy because you're right. Like, Florida has a good defense and Texas has a good defense. That's going to be like, the line is going to be like 45 and the game's going to be like 9-6 or something weird. Like, it's going to
Yeah.
be like, yeah.
That's got underwritten all over it. Yeah, I'm not to spoil the week 5 preview, but somebody's model is quite fond of the Texas defense too. Just something to keep in mind here. All right. Credit to you for doing the work here for your victory lap.
Yeah, I could have written it out the quote, but I just went with the screen caps here. And again, it's a little sad because technically there are no dual model plays until I think next week or this week? Not till
this week.
This week we get dual model plays. Okay, so yes, technically it was 1 week early, but this was an unofficial dual model play where both of our models said Tulsa over Oklahoma State. And if you remember correctly, I said, I'm like, yeah, we were talking about this. I'm like, yeah, my model's got Tulsa here by a lot. I don't believe it. That seems a bit weird. But you were like, no, my model's got Tulsa here too. And I said, oh, immediately bet it. Immediately bet it because that means that if our models both say something weird, it means it's true and bet it. And wow, what it just like, the first half of that game for Oklahoma State looked so bad. That was laughably bad. I think within a few minutes of that game, I think it had flipped to Tulsa being the favorites from like a 11.5 point spread, 12.5 point spread, depending on when you got it. And this is the thing, we'll talk more about my Gundy later, but no, again, just victory lap for the model here. Like, it's weird, and sometimes my model spits out something weird, but I know that if my model spits out something weird and your model spits out the same weird thing, just bet that thing because it's right. And that is crazy that we have that and that we could do that. And I love that we have that. So that's, but yeah, no, shout out to our models on that. This is a victory lap for our models as much as it is for us.
And I did not play that because Oklahoma State had a single data point for FBS opponents, and Oregon just beat the doors off of them so bad. I thought that there was a lot of distortion in that number, and I'm convinced it wasn't. I'm convinced that they're seriously that bad. There's nothing to like here. There's nothing to like here. All right. Things that randomly bugged Robert. Here's a recurring theme on this podcast.
Yeah, we keep going back to this, but honestly, it's been so bad this year. So the thing is, and sorry for the super small image here. I just got the whole thing in here. If you go to CFB Reddit on Twitter, they have this, scroll back through their old images. You could find this. This is the AP poll week 4. It shows everybody, like the matrix where everybody has their picks across the top. Just some stats from here. 0 voters had Indiana ranked above Illinois. 0. 4 of 66 voters had Indiana unranked. Now that I might be off on that. It's at least 4. Again, it's hard to see. I went through pretty quickly, but it's at least 4. And Indiana opened -4.5, closed -6.5, and won by tilde infinity. So, yeah, if you're an AP voter and you fill out your ballot and you're like, good, did my job, I'm good. Now, I didn't catch this at the time because I just don't care about the AP until I realized that it was insane that the 19th team was absolutely blowing out the 9th ranked team. And I realized this was really dumb. If you fill out your ballot and then you look at the spreads for the week and you're like, oh, the team I rank like 10 points above another team is like a touchdown underdog to that team that I rank 10 points spots lower than them. Is that a problem? Is that wrong? Maybe there's a problem there. This is the thing, right? That's too much self-reflection, right? Like, I don't understand why we, like, there's no reason Indiana shouldn't have been ranked. Because, again, we're supposed to give deference. Like, Boise State was ranked. You're telling me that, like, we rank Boise State but we can't rank Indiana for some reason? That doesn't make any sense. And it's okay. So then, but, like, Illinois had done nothing. Like they had beaten up Duke, but Duke was particularly good, right? Indiana should have been ranked. They should have been a lot closer together. Probably Indiana should have been ahead of Illinois. And yeah, Indiana is a terrifying team. And the fact that if you put all that together and that the spread is Indiana -6.5, and you're like, man, I ranked Indiana 9 spots lower, 10 spots lower than Illinois. That should be concerning you. Some alarm bells should be going off. Because if you remember correctly, this isn't the first time this happened. It was a couple of years ago. There was an Oklahoma State game where they were, I want to say, they were ranked like 10th against an unranked team, and they were like 6.5-point underdogs to an unranked team. Remember? That was a couple of years ago. That was, if I remember correctly, that was peak Oklahoma State when they went like 6-0, and then they went 0-6, and then they were never good again, ever. That was them. And it's just, this is why this is so pointless, right? We have these random sports reporters from across the country doing this. They have no idea what they're doing. Just let Vegas do it. Vegas clearly has is Vegas perfect? No, but they have clearly a much better way of doing this than you do. Let Vegas do this. Let Vegas, because the top 25 doesn't matter anymore because we have the committee, which is its own set of problems, but that's fine. We'll talk about that later. But let Vegas rank them. Why do we need a coaches poll? Why do we need an AP poll? Just let Vegas pick them. We all know we can pretend. We don't have to pretend Vegas doesn't exist anymore. We all know it exists. Just let Vegas rank them.
And I'm serious about this. We need just like to get a galaxy is the word I'm looking for of people that we know, literally just starting with us and guests that we've had on, and people that they know that are like of the same mind, and people that we follow on Twitter that are of the same mind. We should do whatever. We should just do a preseason top 25. And yeah. I guarantee you we will be so much more accurate than these dunces right here. I do want to defend the imbecile that works out here for the Orange County Register, where I am. She became famous a couple weeks ago when she had Florida ahead of South Florida, who had just beaten the Gators. I actually found her in this graphic. Thank you very much. She did have Illinois predictably 8 spots ahead of Indiana. In fairness to her, she probably confused the two or doesn't know the difference between them.
Apparently, they said that I'm not sure if it was in last week's or this week's. Apparently, they took her Twitter handle off of this graphic.
That is awesome.
Someone said that. You need to verify that, but I think they did that. Yeah, but that sounds about right.
Okay. Oh, that made my day. Thank you. All right. The Jimbo Award. This is no secret, and this just became just a dumping ground for all the things here. Mine had to go to Dabo. Just to have that horrible performance right after you're saying, "Hey, if they're tired of winning, they'll fire me." What a dope! What an absolute dope! And then you can't even back it up. I heard some podcaster trying to be like too cool for the room saying, "This is smart because he's telling his team it's us against the world." Guess what? The world won, guys, yet again. This is from one of my heroes, Bill Connolly. You know who he is? SP Plus.
I think so, yeah.
So this is from his column this week. Tigers are 1-3 for the first time since 2004. Ooh, those are not good times. This is awesome. They've fallen behind 16-0, 13-0, and 24-7 in their past 3 games. My goodness, that is rough, man. I don't know if you remember where Dabo had said also he doesn't recruit from the transfer portal because nobody else in the portal is good enough to play for Clemson. Do you remember that? Yeah. So he lost to a transfer quarterback, his backup, who is also a transfer, and the guy who lit him up on offense was also a transfer wide receiver. So pretty clearly, at least there were 3 that he missed that are good enough to play for Clemson. Maybe not to play for him, but at least to beat him. Then he had this awesome thing here about, this is just classic, like, dumb guy who thinks he's smarter than the room. Hey, every player is technically a transfer. We just had a whole class of guys guys transferring from high school. Oh, you got us there. Good job. Dabo 1, the rest of the world 0. And do you remember a few years ago when there was some NIL talk? He said, "If we ever pay players, I'm gonna stop coaching."
Yeah.
Yeah, this was perfect right here. This one on Twitter. I don't know this guy. Dabo Sweeney did not lie when he said he would stop coaching when players started getting paid. Exactly what we saw. People have said more in more artful terms than me because I'm a CPA, I'm a numbers guy, but this is just as embarrassing as it gets. When I saw that news conference, I actually texted my buddies and I said, "Look, if this is my coach, I'm out on my program. I'm so worried. I'll maybe watch the rivalry game and that's it."
Yeah. So, a couple points here. So, you talk about the one quote there from the column. The Tigers have won through first time since 2004. They've fallen behind 16-0, 13-0, and 24-7 in their past 3 games. What is the team, because they played 4 games, what's the one team not mentioned there?
LSU.
Yes! That's the only team they didn't fall behind a double score game behind, like 2 scores behind. And this is a team that is, what, 4th nationally, depending on who you ask?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes. They're the only Clemson opponent to never leave by 2 scores.
Yeah, and the teams that have led Clemson by 2 scores are Troy, Georgia Tech, and Syracuse. So, yeah, Brian Kelly, it's like that being with the Grim Reaper going from like door to door. He's up next there. No, seriously, this is insane. My model it's funny because this is where I love my model. It was like Syracuse plus 17.5. My model said it shouldn't be 17.5, should be 7. I said that's great. 17.5, and I even threw some on the money line. And then after I watched the opening drive and I watched Syracuse just march down the field, I saw 13.5. I'm like, it's not enough. Double down on the spread, double down on the money line. That's immediate, like 2 minutes after I was money line for the onside kick, and I'm like, it's done. And this is the thing, like when Fran Brown, who lost everything in the last year, and also they lost their quarterback in this game to an ACL injury, when they are absolutely just crushing you here, what are we doing here? And this is the thing. Joel Klatt today said he's talking in reference to LSU because I think he dropped LSU a spot or 2 in rankings. He's like, Clemson's just not a good win anymore. I'm like, we said that before that game was even played. My comment for that game was, I don't think either of these 2 teams are good, but I think LSU is better than Clemson. Like, we've been for weeks saying it's crazy how like we say something and then 2 weeks later other people start saying it. They're like, maybe Clemson's just not good this year. Like, we said that 2 weeks ago. We said that after they almost lost to Troy. And
Robert, we said it 6 weeks ago when neither of us had them in the ACC title game.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? This is the thing. And it's funny because Joel Klatt, and he in his thing today, to be fair, for accountability, he's like, yeah, I had Clemson in the title game. I had Clemson winning, Klubnik, Heisman. He's what did I miss? And yep. That was just a couple hours ago. I watched it a couple hours ago, so I'd love to put a comment or 2 in there. I'll just outline some things you missed. They were a playoff team a year ago, had the most returning production in all of FBS. I'd like to say, one, the only reason they were a playoff team was because Syracuse beat Miami. If Miami didn't beat Syracuse, they would not have been a playoff team. They
Mm-hmm.
lost in the playoff by 2 scores. They, like, Klubnik was average at best. They basically got gifted the ACC title game because they got 2 interceptions for that. If not, they wouldn't have been in the playoffs. Then they got crushed by Texas, who then almost lost to Arizona State. So there's an argument there among one of the weaker playoff teams already. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, just returning production. If Dabo's entire thing is everybody comes back, we're not going to get rid of a bunch of players, then yeah, of course they're going to have the most returning production. Like, this is the thing. They were not that good last year. They've not been good for quite a few years. You can't just be like, all production returns that were good. It's like, where did that production return on? And even when you're watching the games and they were showing the highlight package from this game, you had all these commentators being like, this is not who Clemson is. These individual players are better than the some they're playing. I'm like, are you sure about that? Are you really like they've got 3 first-round players in defense? Like, where are those guys? They couldn't tackle Steve Angeli. Like, this is the thing. It's like, where are they at? Show me which ones. Who are these first-round draft picks? Show me these first-round draft picks. Like, seriously. Like, what are we doing here? You're like, this team's amazing. These 3 first-round draft picks. Where? Show me the first-round draft picks, please. You can't just say there's first-round draft picks here. Where? There are so many problems with this team with such high expectations. I don't know where this team goes from here because Kate Klubnik was supposed to be their savior, very clearly not their savior. Do they have another quarterback? Are we going to repeat this all again where we're going to massively overhype some random other quarterback that they bring in? Is that what we're going to do next year? Clemson's going to start the season ranked 10th as a penalty for last year. They're not 5th. They have to put them down to 10th. Like, is this, we just slowly start phasing it out next year? What are they even going to do here? I don't even know where you go from here. Like, you have to fire Dabo at some point, right? But
I think they're not going to fire him. They can't. To your point, I don't
yeah,
know
the
what a
money is
palmetto
different.
is, but if it's my state's we've got gold here supposedly, so we can afford to like fire people. Is the palmetto industry like booming? I just don't know about it. A lot of businesses I don't know about, but the palmetto state, I don't know what you can do with that. I do want to point out too. Look, Klubnik was, by one measure, he was the only perfect recruit ever. He had the #1 rating from every service possible, which is the only time ever. So when people say he needs a generational quarterback, I mean, he needs like a seriously generational quarterback to succeed. The other thing too, like in you talk to old time baseball guys, and you'll see this in a second. They'll say, okay, if the team is like struggling, the manager will look at the schedule and he'll say, all right, the Rockies suck this year. All right, we play the Rockies like in 3 days. If we lose the game before, I'm going to start yelling at people and throwing stuff across the room because I know we can beat the Rockies. I think he did that because I said, and this, I'm sure he thought like he would not lose to Syracuse. I said they're going to light up Syracuse and it's going to obscure where the fundamental problems here. I guarantee you he did that rant just as a like circle the wagons thing. And now what does that mean? Like the circles, they're not uncircled, they're just like dissipated, right? There's no wagons. Also, as much as we're ripping on Joel Klatt here, I am looking forward to him doing my USC Trojans at the Illinois game. I'm still looking forward to that. I do like his games that he does. Just
It is good.
breakdown plays, you're awesome. When you have to kind of take your stuff from Sunday through Thursday, not as good as your Saturday work, right?
We give him a lot of we give him a lot of flack here, but no, he's good. He's a great commentator. I love him. He did the Texas Tech Utah game. Loved him in that. He's really good. Just maybe not. He's a great play-by-play, breaking down plays and assessing talent in that way. He's really good at that. But just like rankings and stuff, just yeah, maybe not. But that's okay. Look, I'm not as good as play-by-play as I was saying. That's good. I see that to you. That's fine. But just let us do the rankings. You could do the play-by-play stuff, the film stuff. Yeah.
Yes. He is better at his job than someone that we are both familiar with.
Yeah. This is just very simple. Where's the win? Where's the next win?
Right. Doing dishes or like running a marathon while you're listening to this. There's a great picture of Mike Gundy here looking like he's got the world by the tail.
Yeah. And then
the win, Robert, is Tennessee Martin. Are you missing the obvious here?
No, okay, sorry. Where's fine? They won that game. Yes. Yeah. Okay, but where's the next win? Versus Baylor? No. They're 19.5 underdogs in that game. That's terrifying. At Arizona?
Nope.
No. Versus Houston? No. Defense. Versus Cincinnati?
Maybe.
Like, we're talking maybe here. Like that's like maybe as a 6.5 point underdog, maybe. Like
yeah.
At Texas Tech? No. At Kansas, no.
No,
Versus
no.
Kansas State, maybe.
Yeah, Kansas State isn't struggling that bad. They're not good, but they're not like.
They're not that bad. At
And
you,
just to be clear, it's Kansas State. It doesn't say Kent State. I don't want to make sure you're not confused like my newspaper writer out here.
yes, at UCF, maybe. But I don't think so. God, are you taking? I don't think you can take Gundy over Scott Frost now at this point. I don't.
No, there's
Yeah,
some functional semi-competence there,
yeah.
right?
Tavian Jackson is he's like a good quarterback. Like maybe
Yeah,
like this is the thing. And as much as we don't like Scott Frost, maybe he's gonna be fine this year because he's Tavian Jackson. And then Tavian Jackson gets sucked up by an SEC team next year.
yep.
And then their win total is gonna be like 8.5. And then we're just gonna be like, this is we're just gonna be like every time we're just gonna bet the under 8.5 every time we can. And then yeah, versus Iowa State, they're not winning that one. So, but are we looking at a 2-10 season? Like, what were they last year? They were what? Was they 2-10 last year? No, they weren't that bad.
I know that they were winless in conference.
You're right, son.
Yeah. You know what he needs to do is he needs to send the limousine for Cincinnati quarterback Brendan Sorsby to make sure the guy shows up because that's his only chance at a win. There's
Yeah,
just a prime Sorsby game there. That's it.
like
It's
that's how desperate this is. Now again, you're
yeah,
like you're at home against Baylor. Again, far from a powerhouse, far from a strong defense. You're 20-point underdogs. I grabbed it at 16. It's already up. It's up another field goal since I grabbed it on Sunday night. Like what? Yeah, okay, maybe they have to pay Dabo 60 million. They don't have to pay Mike Gundy 60 million. So like, when are they just waiting? Are they just okay? Yeah, you could pick your exit here. What are we doing here? Or is this going to be like we're just going to do graceful end of the year firing? He's just not going to come back. What are we doing here? Because that clearly Tulsa loss should have been grounds for firing.
his deal was restructured before the season too. Like he was almost let go, and they restructured his deal instead. So I don't think they made restructured it to make it harder to fire the guy. I'm pretty confident in that.
Yeah, the last time they lost to Tulsa at home, they were called a different school. It was 1951. They were Oklahoma A&M. They weren't even
Yeah,
Oklahoma State. That's how bad this is. Like it's so bad. It's whole new
yeah.
levels of bad.
And you know what? Here's the thing. This isn't like you lost to JMU, like a good G5 team. This is a brand new coach at Tulsa, and Tulsa was like literally, I think I had them bottom 5 nationally in all of FBS last year. This is a complete rebuild, and I made fun of Jason X name coming up for the UCLA job. Trey Lamb might have actually coached his way into this job. Right? He's right there, right?
Yeah, it's crazy that like some of these coaches and Nick Saban, you almost wonder if he saw the writing on the wall at this point. Because if you were to say like older coaches, you would say Nick Saban, Mike Gundy, Dabo, couple others that have gone. You would name them as a kind of a branch and a group of coaches. Maybe he saw the writing on the wall and got out first. I don't know. I do not think Nick Saban would have lost to Syracuse, though. I'm just going to say that. But this is the thing, right? It's just like, where's the bottom for Oklahoma State and Clemson? I honestly don't know. And it's terrifying how far they've fallen here.
Yeah, they might be uniquely in a rough spot in that look, you don't have the best media deal in the Big 12. You are probably I'm just guessing now. There might be profiling, stereotyping, whatever. I'm just guessing that all the Big 12 schools, they and Kansas State probably have the least amount of wealth in the alumni/donor base to make up for what you have to in being in the middle of the sticks. These guys are like a couple hours from any kind of major airport here. It's not easy to get players to go to either place. You don't have this fan support that like Nebraska has in Lincoln, for example. There's a lot of indicators going down, and that's why I go back to I don't think there's a lot of people that would kill for this job other than Trey Lamb just because nearby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be rough here. It gets worse before it gets better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. A few items in the noted for future reference area. Thank you to Isaiah for passing this along. UNLV's opponents are 0-12 this season. So let's just tap the brakes a little bit on the, and of course, I had to get, this is one of my themes here. Of course, Stuart Mandel had to mention, hey, UNLV might be a playoff contender this year. Okay, the mush of all mushes right there.
I What an insane stat, by the way, that like they've won 4 games and all 4 of those games are against opponents that have not won a game. That's nuts, right? Like you would not expect that. Has that ever happened before? Probably happened sometime before, but that's such a rare thing to have that you've won 4 games, but all 4 of those wins have come against horrific teams. So
Yeah,
what does it say about you, right?
exactly. And they were lucky because Miami was driving for the winning touchdown and a nice play by UNLV defender to punch the ball out and cause a fumble. This was not just like regular Miami. This is Miami without DeQuan Finn in the game. So there's Mac, and then there's Mac, who's on their second string quarterback. Just to go back to one of our standing jokes here, Trayson Bourget. You're talking about that kind of guy here that's going to drive your team down. And Miami was doing it. I still need to be convinced, to put it generously. Boy, Wisconsin, 3.4 yards per play, hosting Maryland, and a robust 21% post-game win probability.
That feels high.
Yes. Said it is getting bad, and his buyout is $25 million. I hope we like each other because they're not going to win anytime soon.
It's that one was also because they lost that, what was it, 28-10?
I want to say 27-10. It was by more than 2
Yeah.
scores, though. Yeah.
So that was because they were 10-point dogs. So that's a 27
No,
point underperformance.
sorry, Maryland
Yeah.
was at the
Yeah,
10-point
Maryland
dog.
was at 10-point dogs. So that's a 27 point under. Again, going back to our index, hey, that could have been grounds for fire according to our index there. So
Yes.
this is the thing, right? We probably should have some more research on this because like maybe someone got fired in a game, but maybe the week before they underperformed the spread by 4 scores. Like maybe it's okay, there's a delayed firing. Okay, we didn't fire them this week, we just waited a week and then fired them. So maybe we need to look at that more. Maybe the thing is like when we talk about Gundy, maybe there's going to be a horrific week that's even worse where they lose by 50 to Baylor this week or something, where it's okay, yeah. But if they like just maybe not covering spreads here, like they're not going to go like 8-0 ATS for the rest of the season here, but maybe they're going to like only lose by 14 to Baylor this week or something, or maybe they'll lose their last game by 14 to Iowa State and be like, yeah, okay, you're gone. If they weren't fired for that week, but they were fired for the decision had been made already. That's the thing. So
You know what would be fascinating, and I don't know how you would do this, although it probably goes with your GDP exercise. I would say the amount of underperformance multiplied by some kind of affordability factor.
yeah, that's probably true. We need to know the contracts and we could figure it out. So it'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, if you underperform by, but you have to be very careful, right? Because it'd be like it'd be like Sark underperforms by 14, he's gone.
Maybe, but he can't be easy to buy out. I'm sure
No,
he's got
that's
a
true. Yeah,
contract. Yeah.
yeah. He's probably got a strong contract. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. As predicted, Noah Kim was enough to propel Eastern Michigan to win over Louisiana. 87 Apex against the Sun Belt. It's actually a pretty good Sun Belt defense. I don't think Eastern Michigan's going to make the MAC title game, but like we say in these lower conferences, if you can just do something, if you have some kind of identity, that's going to go a long way. So keep your eye on Eastern Michigan. Now, part of the identity is they don't like to tackle. Maybe they can bring in UCLA's fired defensive coordinator because at least he's familiar with that situation. But at least they have something to do here. And I think they're going to take a sneaky step forward here.
I remember that was the calculus we did call. We were like, hey, Eastern Michigan is like not bad, right? They're not bad. They are like their quarterback is okay, and Louisiana's quarterbacks were not okay. And we said, hey, both are not great at defense, so let's get the over. We got the over, and we got the plus 2.5 / money line. Yeah.
Yep. And then finally, Washington quarterback Damon Williams has a big game coming up that we'll talk about in the Week 5 preview. A brisk 330 Apex at Washington State. That is the highest single game that I've seen so far this season. That was even better than Jaden Mayava's season debut against the Bears of Missouri State. So he comes into the game in fine form. 330. That's like double Jaden Daniels' Heisman season, basically.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see that game. I'm excited to talk about that game. This week is a crazy week of football. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. So, Robert, that wraps up our week four review. Pardon me. Thank you very much. We will see you shortly when we preview week five. Thank you everyone for listening in, and we will see you when the next one drops. Until then, be safe and drive safely, and talk to you shortly.